These are the top 20 tools from Amazon that I've shown on this channel in 2024. 2 of these I regret not knowing about sooner, and you will too. So stick around. Let's go. If you'd like to check out any of these tools I showed today, there'll be a link in the description and the pinned comment to help you find them easier. Let's get on to number 1. One of the absolutely most popular tools I've shown on this channel in 2024 was the PowerTech Crosscut Sled from Amazon. This thing was very surprising at how good it was. Number 1, it's easy to assemble. It only takes a few minutes to get everything ready to go. And you can cut it to fit your table saw. So you're gonna have that basically a 0 clearance on the right side. Now it's not a great option for like a job site saw, but for standard saws, this is a good option, especially for those who don't want to build the crosscut sled. This also comes with a stop block and it comes with a clamp so that you can clamp down small parts. I really love that feature of this crosscut sled. This sled also has a laminate top, and the actual sacrificial fence that you put in there has that laminate on there as well, so that's a nice touch. One of the greatest features of this crosscut sled, for one, it was easy to square up, so you could just do it with a standard square that fence up to your blade. It also comes out of the box. The fence is a square to the table, 90 degrees, which is a plus. It also will cut miters up to about 55 degrees, and the numbers on there are nice and bold, easy to read, especially for older eyes like me. I really appreciated that. This is a very well-made sled. It is MDF core, but it does have that laminate on there. I think it'll last a long time, and I think it's just a good value for what you're getting here, and that's likely one of the reasons it's one of the most popular tools in 2024. One thing that makes this stand out is the fence is an extruded aluminum fence, and then it has that sacrificial fence out of MDF with the laminate covering on it that you just slip in there. So if you cut that up, you could likely replace that. You could build your own, anything that you wanted to do. But because it has that extruded aluminum fence, it just makes it a really solid option. Next up is the most popular tape measure I've ever shown on this channel, and then this last year has been super popular. This is the FastCap lefty-righty tape measure. It has a few unique features that a lot of people love. First and foremost, FastCap makes some of the best tape measures, in my opinion, on the market. This is the one I carry every day. This is the old standby. But a lot of people like this lefty-righty because when you extend it out, both sides of the tape are facing you. In other words, there's numbers on the left and right side, hence lefty-righty. So no matter which side of the tape you're standing on or which way you're holding the tape, you can read those numbers right side up. Another thing people love is the fact that these, now listen, I know a lot of you metric folks make fun of us, people that like fractions and things like that. Well, we just like it. It's okay. It's just how we roll. But some people have a tough time learning to read a tape measure properly, and I think this is why this is one of the most popular. It has the measurements at 1/8, quarter, 3/8, half, 5/8, 3/4, 7/8, all between every inch. So you know when you, at a glance, if you're marking at 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch or anything like that. It's fast, it's easy to read, and it reduces mistakes because you've got those markings on there, in my opinion. It also includes a pencil sharpener built right in if you carry a regular pencil. And it does have this blank space right here where you can write down measurements, keep track of that, and then when you're done, you can erase them, go again. That's a really cool feature that most tape measures don't have. Does anybody else have that? Next is the best sander, under $100. Come at me, bro.
Yeah, come at me, bro.
I think this is the best value sander that you can buy. It's under $100. This is the DeWalt Random Orbital Sander. I have used a DeWalt sander off and on since 2017, but I think these are the best value sanders you can get. Now, there's also a Craftsman sander that looks identical to this, and I think they're probably coming out of the same factory. So if you prefer a red sander, you can get the Craftsman for a little cheaper, save you $20 or $30, or you can pick up the DeWalt and get variable speed, which is one I think you should get. But if you're on a tighter budget, the Craftsman will do just fine. They work exactly the same. I saw no performance differences when I tested as many sanders as I could that are under $100, and the Craftsman and the DeWalt come out on top. So for the price, I think this, and a lot of you agree, based on what I've seen and heard, this DeWalt sander is one of the most popular sanders you can get on Amazon. Now I'm gonna lump these 3 together in their own group, and they're track saws. We're gonna go budget, middle level, a little higher level, not really extreme. One of the most popular tools I've shown on the channel this year was a Skill circular track saw, track circular saw. It was kind of a hybrid of a circular saw that had a track that went with it. Now, I was kind of impressed with this. It's not a Festool track saw. It's not a Milwaukee track saw. But for somebody that's on a budget and you need a way to break down sheet goods, this thing worked very well. Now, it did sling some dust everywhere, but for what you're getting inside this package, this is one of the most popular tools we've shown, and a lot of people who bought it loved it, and they let me know. It's kind of a unique idea that nobody else has, for whatever reason, come up with, and I think Skil did a good job here. Now, if you're looking for a little bit better track saw that performed extremely well, I thought was the Triton. And a lot of people agree as well. The Triton track saw is one of those that's a really good budget track saw, cuts very accurate, has plenty of power. It does basically anything you want a track saw to be. Now, it has a few minor quips with it, but overall, I think the Triton track saw is a good value. And then finally, it was the Metabo HPT. It is a track saw that has a very unique feature that nobody else is doing, especially in their cordless tools. Now, it performed extremely well. I thought it was a really good track saw. We got plenty of square cuts with it. It did everything you want a track saw to do. Had good dust collection, everything you're looking for, carrying case, the whole nine. The unique feature is the fact that they have a battery adapter that will plug into an outlet. So you can use batteries, or you can use this adapter and it would literally just plug up to a 120 volt outlet and you're good to go. So if you're on a job site with power, you can use the battery adapter. But if you don't have power, you have that option to use those batteries. I think it's one of the most unique things that sets Metabo apart from most of the other tools that you see on the market. Next, one of probably the most popular tool that I've shown on the channel from Amazon in 2024 is and was the Win hand tools. We're talking woodpecker level accuracy and some of the best budget level hand tools that I've saw. That we're talking a whole hand tool setup for layout and measuring, squares, straight edges, T-squares, even clamping squares, and even an angle finder. These are extremely popular, so popular that they sold out on the first day I published the video, and it's been months and they're still sold out. If they're still sold out now, it's not my fault. Really, I hope they get them back in stock because I think they're some of the best value tools that you can get as far as hand tools go that are from Amazon. They're just extremely good. I was blown away at how well made these tools are, and I think a lot of people will be too if they ever come back in stock. Check links in the description and the pinned comment to see if they're back in stock. Fingers crossed they're coming back soon. Next is by far, in my opinion, the best budget or beginner level miter saw that you can buy, and that's from Skil. It was so impressive to me that this 10-inch miter saw performed as well as it did for the price. And we're talking $249 on average or below. This is a great value. It cuts square every time, minimal deflection on there. All sliding saws are gonna have some deflection. Even the Festool has some deflection if you push on it hard enough. But the Skil did an extremely good job, and the only miter saw I have ever seen to date that equals the Festool clamp that's on there is this Skil. It just works. Most miter saw clamps are clunky, and I hate them because of the little screw thing. They just don't work well, and the Skil did. So if you're looking for a really good miter saw on a budget that's gonna perform well, that's gonna last a long time, check out the Skil. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Next, I'm going to lump a couple of tools here because they're from Jessam, our neighbors up to the north in Canada. They have been crushing it in 2024. They have come out with some of the best and most innovative hand tools and setup tools for your shop that I've seen in some time. This is the Jessam setup gauge. There's two versions. Well, there's actually metric and imperial, and then there's two sizes. So I guess 4 versions, but depending on what you want. This is perfect for setting the heights of your bits for your router or your router table or your table saw blade or anything like that. If you want to set heights dead accurate, this is the way to go. And you can also use this to set your fence distances or calibrate your fences or anything like that. This is one of the best made setup gauges that I've used, bar none. I like having both the small and the larger. The larger is good for the table saw, the router table. The smaller is better for like your routers, handheld routers and things like that. If you have the budget, pick both up. You'll thank me later. These are just great options. Another thing Jessam did this year was come out with some squares, and they are as perfect as you can make a square. These Jessam squares have a couple of features that I absolutely love, and I think every square should have them. First, they have a balance tab. It's basically a little tab that you can push out so that it holds it up on the edge of your stock so it doesn't fall over. This is absolutely awesome for a couple of reasons. Number one, when you're making marks across the boards and things like that, you can just leave it balanced there. It just helps keep everything nice and square as you make that mark. Another thing is if you're making scribe lines parallel to the side of the board, this helps balance that square all the way across that mark, and it just works well. Another feature they have that I love, they've developed this, and it's the grip technology inside of these squares and their straight edges as well. But when you press down on that, you put minimal pressure on there and it flexes a microscopic amount, but it sticks to the board. It doesn't damage your wood, but it does stick, and it works extremely well. It looks like and it feels like sandpaper, but the way they're laser etching these onto this metal is fantastic. They also come in these nice little MDF carrying cases, which are magnetic. And a lot of people ask, how can stainless steel be magnetic? Because they're using 301 full hard stainless steel, it is magnetic, but also still stainless. You can just Google 301 full hard stainless steel magnetic and you can get the full explanation on how that works. Now these squares come in both imperial and metric, as well as 6, 8, and 12-inch lengths. And if you're worried about accuracy, you can put that to rest because they are within 0.02 of an inch over the length of the blade in square. So you're never going to need more than that in woodworking. Next on the list is the king of routers as far as I'm concerned. This is the brand new this year DeWalt 1/2 inch, 2 1/4 peak horsepower cordless router. Say that 3 times fast. This is one of my favorite tools of 2024 for a few reasons. First and foremost, it is one of the safest routers out there because of that anti-rotation technology. It shuts the motor off if it detects a kickback, and I absolutely love that feature. Also, it has overload protection, so you'll see a light up here flashing if it starts getting overloaded. In other words, you're pushing it too hard. Just back up a little bit, let it do its thing. And as far as plunge routers goes, this is one of the greatest plunge routers or plunge mechanisms ever made. It has so many features, it's so ergonomic. It is the pinnacle of tool design as far as I'm concerned. I bought one with my own money, and I think it's one of the greatest investments I've ever made in the shop. It's a little pricey, and of course you need the DeWalt batteries, but I think it's well worth the investment if you use a router very much. I could go on for hours about how great this thing is, but until you test it for yourself, you're never gonna know, so go check it out. From one extreme to the other as far as price goes, check out this. This is the Pentel Graph Gear 1000, the 0.9 lead. It's the one I like, it's the one I use every day. I literally carry one right there in my pocket of my True Work pants every single day because I have it accessible anytime I need to mark something. And they're just great pencils. I have several of these. I keep a couple in the shop and of course one in my pocket. It's just a great pencil for woodworking. I think it's the greatest pencil for woodworking you can buy. Now, it ain't the cheapest. It's about $9 or $10 for this, but I've got 2 or 3 of them and I keep up with them, so it's not a big deal. Some people prefer the 0.7 or even the 0.5 lead. I find the 0.9 works best for my uses because it doesn't break very easily. I tend to press down a little too hard. The 0.5 breaks too easy for me, and I don't need that fine of detail in most things I'm doing. I think it's just a good all-around pencil for woodworking. And it's one of the most popular I've shown on the channel. In the top 5 of the most popular products I've shown on the channel are these positioning squares. If you don't have a set of these, they're absolutely game changers if you build anything that's square. And it doesn't matter if that's cabinets or if it's end tables or anything. Anything you're putting 2 pieces together square and you just need to hold them together while you fasten them together, put a dowel in, put a domino in, put a pocket hole screw in, it doesn't really matter. These are great because you can clamp these to either side and then it stays square. It holds everything in position and keeps it square, hence positioning squares or 90-degree positioning squares. You actually get a variety pack that has various sizes depending on what you're working on. Not only can you use these to hold 90-degree 2 pieces together, but I also use these to help position things. Like when I was building my tool cart, I just clamped these to the cart and I slid the shelf in there so that it holds the shelf in position while I fasten it that way. They're just extremely handy to have. I think everybody should have a set in their shop, and a lot of you agree because it's one of the most popular products from Amazon this year. Next, what I think is going to be an instant classic. I'm gonna call it right now. I showed this in a video not that long ago. This is a Win spindle sander. Now, if you don't need the belt sander portion, like you see here with beside the rigid belt and spindle sander, this is a spindle sander just like on the rigid, but in a very much smaller package. You're talking a lot smaller. We don't even put this in a drawer or on a shelf. It's not going to take up a ton of space. It clamps to basically any work surface, and then you can use it as a spindle sander. If you're sanding curves, profiles, things like that, it's just a good option to have in the shop. And it doesn't break the bank. We're talking less than $50 at the time of this filming, and it's variable speed, and you can put different size spindles on it. The dust collection is really good, and it works well. It also comes with a little fence or a guide that you can put on there if you wanted to help use that to round over corners or even sand flat edges. It's just a great tool. I think this will be one of the most popular tools by the end of the year based on what I've seen so far. That's why I put it in this video. Who's ever been to Hibachi? That's what it sounds like. This is one of the most popular saws, hand saws, that I've ever shown that's from Amazon, and it's a high quality saw too. This is the Suizan flush cut trim saw, and what I love about this is on one side you have hardwood teeth, on the other side softwood, and all that means is one side is more fine, one side is more coarse, and it's a very flexible blade, and it's not that expensive for a Japanese hand saw. Suizan is one of the top saw makers anyway, and this is just a good quality saw. I've had this one for a couple of years now. Every time I show it, people get it, they love it, and it won't break the bank. That's a great thing. This has been one of the most popular saws for a reason, because it works so well. It lasts a long time, it stays sharp. It's just a good all-around value. If you don't have one, get one. They're handy as a shirt pocket. Just don't let the teeth get stuck in your pocket. Who has a shop vac and your shop vac hose never fits anything in the shop? It won't fit your sander, it doesn't fit your router, it doesn't fit your track saw. Really the only thing it'll plug up to is maybe your table saw, but then sometimes that's even probably doesn't. This will fix your wagon. This is a hose adapter kit, and it comes with several different pieces that will adapt to a bunch of different tools. And we're talking about we can take it and plug it into our shop vac with this end, and then the other end has those adapters on there that will snap in and out so you can change them out quickly, but it will adapt to your sander, your router, your track saw, and a bunch of other tools, especially for the smaller tools. This is a lifesaver, and it'll collect all that dust for you. Don't make a mess. It's just a good tool to have, and again, it's not one of those things that's going to break the bank. Because of everything you're getting with it and how well it works, I think this is one of the better values out there for dust collection if you just have a shop vac and you want to turn it into a semi-type dust extractor type setup. Dust extractors are good for smaller tools, dust collectors for bigger tools. That's why I say dust extractor light. One of my favorite tools that I bought on Amazon is actually a storage item, and that's lumber storage from Bora. I've got 2 of these lumber storage racks in the shop. They're extremely easy to install. Just make sure you're installing those into studs. They'll hold like a ton of weight. Not a literal ton, but a lot of weight. I have mine stacked full of hardwood, and they haven't budged. And they hold a bunch, and they get all of that lumber up off my floor and help me stay organized in the shop. You can get them in different tiers. I've got the 5 tier, or I guess 6 if you want to stack all the way on the top. I've got 2 of those, one over here, one over there. One of the best purchases I've ever made, and again, these are also very budget friendly, especially for what you're getting. Next on the list, push blocks. I was very skeptical about the Milescraft Grabber Pro, and I will admit that, because I've always used the gripper. I still think the gripper is an amazing tool. But recently, I tried this Grabber Pro, and I was impressed. It has a lot of features on here that the gripper kind of does too, but it does it differently. First and foremost, it has an angled handle, so if you're standing to the left of the blade, it angles towards you, and it's just a little bit more ergonomic than that way. It also includes a push block from the back, so you can, if you're using this out of jointer especially, it really does help push those small pieces all the way through, or if you're cutting small parts on the table saw, you can use this kind of as a sacrificial type thing, and it'll cut through it on the back, and it pushes the smaller part through the blade, and it keeps your hand away from the blade, and that's where both of these really shine. Both of these have been some of the most popular things I've shown on the channel in 2024, so it depends on if you prefer the gripper or the grabber. They're kind of both have unique features. I think the grabber, the Milescraft Grabber, has a stickier bottom than the gripper, but I've never had any problems with this slipping, but others have said this does slip on them, where the grabber does not. The grabber also has a leg that comes with it that's only an 1/8 inch thin, so if you wanted to switch that out, you could do that because it's included, and it's just a good overall well-made tool, but so is the gripper. I'll link to both depending on which one you prefer, but they are both excellent, excellent upgrades for your table saw and your safety. Next up is the DFM Small Carpenter Square. It's one of the most popular squares that I've shown on the channel that you can get on Amazon. First and foremost, made in the USA by DFM Toolworks right there in Chicago, Illinois. This is a great layout tool if you're doing woodworking. For one, it's perfectly square, so you're not going to have to worry about that. It does have these holes so that you can drop pins in so you can quickly lay out octagons and different things like that. And it does have scribe holes that your Pentel pencil 0.9 lead fits perfectly into, so you can scribe those parallel lines. And those are at 1/16 inch intervals, so you can really get dialed in with this. I think it's one of the better value squares out there, especially for Made in America tools. And it comes in a couple of different colors, so you can just pick whichever one you like. Very popular square. One of the most popular power tools that I show on the channel year over year that come from Amazon are the next two tools. Number one is the DeWalt DW735X. It is a game changer for a shop if you don't have a planer. It is one of the best made planers on the market, and if you upgrade to the Bird Helix helical head, you can do that yourself. They also sell those on Amazon. I'll link to them. It really changes everything about how planers work because it has that Helix or helical head. It's basically cutting the wood versus chopping the wood. It has a shearing action. It's just, you get a better finish coming out of the planer than you do the 3-knife. However, the 3-knife version still is one of the most popular planers on the market because of how well it's made. We're talking about rock solid. I've had one since 2017, late 2017, early 2018. It's been one of the best tools that I've ever gotten in the shop, especially for dimensioning lumber. It has 2 speeds, so you can set a fine setting or a coarse setting. The coarse is more for quickly dimensioning the lumber. The 5 is more getting that finer finish. It also has one of the better mechanisms on this 4-post style for raising and lowering the planer. And I love, love, love the feature where you can see about how much you're going to take off every single time. It is one of the best planers you can buy, and it's why it's one of the most popular ones that I've shown on the channel from Amazon. Next is my pick for a couple of years now as the best table saw for beginners, and that's the Skil 10-inch saw. It's regularly under $299, and at this price point, it is very difficult to beat what you're getting out of this table saw. Full 10-inch blade. It has plenty of power to blast through basically anything you're going to want to cut. The fence stays square, and that's what you're looking for in a table saw, is a good square fence. If this had been available when I first started woodworking, I would have got a table saw much sooner because it would have been inside my budget at the time, which was very minimal, and it would do everything that I needed to do. It does have collapsible feet or collapsible legs on there. If you needed to set it onto a workbench or something, you could, or you can fold those feet out and have it stand on its own. It also doesn't take up a ton of space, and I think it's one of the better made table saws in this price range that you can get. There's another option, and that's the DeWalt 8 1/4 saw. So if you need a little bit more space savings, a little more portability, this is also an excellent saw. It also has a very good fence. Both of these saws have rack and pinion fence, in other words, gear-driven fence, so the front and the back roll together on those gears, stay square. Just good, two good options for table saws, and 2 of the most popular I've shown that you can get from Amazon. You need to stick around because I got 2 bonus picks for you, but next is the mullet, and I'm not talking about my hairdo. Listen, this thing is all business in the front. It does party a little in the back. If you're using your shop vac for dust collection, you need something like a dust separator, and this mullet is a good design one. So for instance, if you're using your shop vac to collect dust from a planer or a table saw or a jointer or something like that, you know how fast it fills up the shop vac and it clogs up your filter. And that's where these dust separators separate themselves. Get it? So what happens is the big bulky dust comes into the separator, spins around the cyclone area, and falls down into the container that collects the big dust. It only takes in the very fine dust into your shop vac, and this prevents it from filling up as fast and stopping up that filter. These things are awesome, and it's so well made. This basically connects to any shop vac, and it has the wheels and all on there, so it makes it all one unit that rolls around together. Just a well-made piece of equipment, and they send you $1. Seriously, that's where that $1 come from. It was in the package. One of the best beginner router bit sets comes from Amazon, or you can get them from Amazon. You can probably get them other places too. This is the Whiteside number 404 bit set. You get 2 flush trim bits, a chamfer bit, and a roundover bit. I talk about these quite often because they are my favorite router bits. I've bought and used them for years, and I think they're some of the best made router bits on the market. Made in the USA, small family-owned company, and they just do a really good job. I had the opportunity to meet the son of the founder, if I remember right, of Whiteside, who works for the company. Just super great, nice people, and they just make good quality products, and that's their driven mission, is to make good quality router bits, and they do a really good job at it. This set basically is if you're just starting out and you don't have a roundover and a chamfer, which is 2 of the most common bits you're going to use. This set also includes the flush trim bits, so you can use those for different templates and things like that. Flush trimming. It's just a great value for a router bit set, especially if you're just starting out and you want to just get good quality ones right out of the gate and not to replace them constantly. 2 bonus picks for you. First, these are extremely popular from Amazon. These are Rockler bench cookies. I use these all the time. Almost every time I come in the shop, I use them for various things. I may set them here, put boards on them to sand, because they have that anti-slip grip on there, and they just keep things up off the work surface. You can use them for a variety of reasons. I also use them when I use the track saw here at the workbench to break down sheet goods. I can put them under my sheet good, make my cut, and nothing like falls or moves. You just got everything supported with these bench cookies. They're not very expensive. I always recommend picking up at least 8 of these. I think they come in a 4-pack. They also have various accessories and stuff that go along with them, but just the basic bench cookies work amazing, and they are always, every time I show them, very popular. Now, you can also, people have suggested buying hockey pucks and doing the same thing. If that's your thing, go for it. I love hockey as much as the next guy. Go Preds. But these just work. The last tool from Amazon that has been extremely popular, but a little controversial too, that's why I saved it for last, is the Jet 1020 drum sander. Now, why has this been so controversial? Well, there's a couple of reasons I think. First and foremost, some of the reviews aren't that great, but I think people have unreal expectations on this Jet drum sander, and it kind of skews what they think it should do. First, it's a little bit sensitive on the circuit breaker that's on the motor. I'll admit that. It should be a little bit less sensitive. So in other words, what happens is if you try to take off too much material, it trips that little breaker and stops the motor. It can get annoying, but if you're using this as a sander and not a planer, then I think it does what it's supposed to. I haven't had any issues with this one. Once you realize you can't take off like an 1/8 inch every pass, it's a sander, you're taking off a tiny bit every time you run the board through there, it works extremely well. And if you're doing a whole bunch of sanding, especially on longer flat pieces, cutting boards, things like that, charcuterie boards, this thing will be a lifesaver because of how well it works. Now, some people don't like it because it does trip a little easy, but take off small amounts, it works fine. And based on the view count and the comments on that video, people love that size drum sander because it is such a small form factor, a little bench top drum sander. I actually have mine on a Milwaukee pack-out rolling cart. Probably not the best place to keep it, but I can roll it around, use it as I need it. And if you can catch it on sale, that is a really good value to have in the shop. Hey, but that's not all. You got to check out 2023's most popular Amazon tools right there. A lot of those are still extremely popular. Click in that box, get to the big old virtual fist bump.